the people interviewed this year, no one's as divisive and despised as Iran's President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad. Americans consider him public enemy number one. In my exclusive interview, his answers were elusive, infuriating, and fascinating. I asked what he thinks about Israel, and then I asked other world leaders what they think about him. Looking live at New York City, home of the United Nations, world leaders from 193 countries are gathering for the annual meeting of the General Assembly. President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad will address the meeting on Wednesday. He has some blistering words at Israel today. You have been condemned very vociferously in America for a comment that you are said to have made, that you wanted Israel to be wiped off the map, wiped off the face of the earth. There have been many different interpretations of what you said. You have disputed the meaning that was then translated from the original Farsi. Let me give you this opportunity to say exactly what you did say and to say exactly what you did mean.
We have been condemned in the United States for many things. For having deposed a dictator with a revolution, for having sought freedom and free elections, for not allowing our oil and national treasure to leave our country freely, for having stood up to very dangerous terrorists in the region, for having stood up against Saddam Hussein, who enjoyed the backing of many. We stood up against him and did not allow the occupation of our territory. We have been condemned for a great many things. Because we said justice for all, the rule of law for all, the right of peaceful nuclear energy for all.
But do you want, Mr. President, do you want...
allow me, sir. Allow me, please.
The question wasn't any of that. The question was, do you believe that Israel should...
But I will get to that answer, please. Don't be in such a hurry.
Repeat it quickly. Should Israel be wiped off the face of the map? Is that your desire?
If a group comes and occupies the United States of America, destroyed homes while women and children are in those homes, incarcerate the youth of America, impose 5 different wars on many neighbors, and always threaten others, what would you do? What would you say? Would you help it? Would you help that entity? Or would you help the people of the United States? So, when we say to be wiped, we say for occupation to be wiped off from this world, for war-seeking to be wiped off and eradicated, the killing of women and children to be eradicated, and we propose the way. We propose the path.
What they're really saying is, in spite of the fact that we deny the Holocaust, that we threaten Israel, and we demonize the United States, and we do all this stuff, we want you to trust us. In spite of the fact that we won't cooperate with the international regime set up to avoid an arms race in the Middle East and set up to avoid nuclear proliferation, we want you to trust us. So they don't have a tenable position. The reason nobody believes them is they don't have a tenable position.
Do you trust Ahmadinejad?
Not on this, I don't.
His argument is, look, why should America be allowed nuclear weapons? Why should Israel, who've never admitted they have them, why should they be permitted to have them? Why should many countries be allowed nuclear weapons and not Iran?
Well, then, why isn't he going for some bigger non-proliferation initiative instead of acting like what he really wants is a nuclear bomb, because that will help to get everybody to get rid of their nuclear weapons? No serious person believes that.
President Ahmadinejad struck a strangely modifying tone, many felt. He was more reasoned than he has been in previous years at this event. One theory being that he's genuinely concerned that Israel may do some kind of preemptive strike and then no one can control what happens next. Secondly, that the sanctions may really be biting. The sanctions in particular in relation to their oil exports and to their banks may now be really hurting Iran, and he's getting a lot of heat from his own people. What do you think?
Well, I think he will be getting a certain amount of heat from some people, because there's no doubt the sanctions are having a big effect. And indeed, I think next month, for the first time, Iraq will actually export more oil than Iran. So, you know, the whole balance of power in terms of oil production in the region is changing as a result of the sanctions. On the other hand, I think, as the recent report of the Atomic Energy Authority indicates, there's no sign that Iran is relenting on this essential push. And the trouble is it's combined with a regime that holds views and does things that most people within the region find unacceptable.
If we cut off Iran's ability to export oil, and which would face them with the prospect of a devastating economic blow, then I think that would be an inevitable move toward war. And I think it would be a very serious mistake.
I mean, you deliberately avoided any kind of military conflict with Iran when you were president.
Yes, I did. I was advised by many of our people to go to war with Iran, to bomb them and to punish them for holding our hostages.
Do you still think it would have been a terrible error to do that?
I do, because every one of the hostages came home safe and free. There was no one killed in the war. We didn't have a war with Iran.
When we come back from Trayvon Martin to Aurora, Colorado, to the tragedy in Newtown, what may be the most controversial topic of the year, guns in America.
Let's play